Hi there, and welcome back to another video tutorial on ICM photography. So a couple of weeks ago I was out in Zeeland, not New Zealand, but Zeeland in the south of Holland. It borders Belgium, so it's really lovely. It's bizarrely, the Netherlands is not that big, but it took 3 hours to get from my house in the Netherlands to this location. I don't get out to the beach very often because it is so far away from where I live. So it's really fun to get on the beach sometimes and go and explore. And I'd been on the beach the day before and I'd spotted these breakers out in the sea, and so I took myself back the second day to go and explore. So what I'm going to do here in this tutorial is just talk you right through from my creative thought processes and how I create the images on the beach, right through to the end process that you can see here right now. This is on my website. I uploaded an album just today, and so I just thought it'd be fun to show you right from thought process to end image, and include things like post-processing, which I've had a few questions about recently. So as always, I hope you enjoy the tutorial. If you have any questions, do drop them in the box below. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And if you enjoyed the video, do give it a like and do follow if you're not already following and subscribing to me. And of course, do let anybody else know if you enjoy my videos, if you think they might be helpful to anybody. It's always lovely to hear people sharing them. So anyway, I will, without further ado, I shall take you out onto the beach. So I hope you enjoyed that little view of the beach, what I saw when I first got onto the beach and what sort of captured my eye. As you can see, it wasn't a brilliant, bright, sunny day. However, I found it far too bright to, I started shooting without my filter on, which you can see just here with the first 2 or 3 images. And I realised very quickly that there was no way that I was going to be able to get anything with my camera without putting my ND filter. So I think I put my 6 stop on. I really don't enjoy using a filter in front of my camera. I find it just sort of creates a bit of a barrier between me and the subject that I'm photographing. But when needs must, I really wanted to photograph ICM, so I did put it in front. So what you just saw there a minute ago was some of the total amount. Now I've got 310 here, literally, that I gave a 1 star to or above. I think I actually started with about 600 images from, I think I was there for about 2 or 3 hours in the end. So I went through and dumped anything that just didn't, I just thought wasn't going to work. And to be honest, in every location, I've started using a new style where I take 4 or 5 photos minimum, one after the other, before I look at the back of the screen. So what you end up with is 4 or 5 almost identical photos. But I find by shooting quite quickly, the hand movement, you can generate the hand movement over and over again. Whereas if you take a picture, look at the screen, your body has forgotten the movement you did before, so you can't possibly replicate what's on the screen in front of you. So I give it 4 or 5 goes and then see what I've got on the back of the screen. So when I've got 4 or 5 almost of exactly the same image, I'll have picked my favourite one, which is why I've dumped sort of 300 images out of here. Now, my idea of just showing you this very quickly was to briefly mention how I go about choosing which images that I am going to work with. So as I mentioned, I started with 600. I dumped anything that I felt was a replica, or I managed to pick out my favourites. Then what I will do, I will end up, for example, just this little section here, I've just got from 21 to 29 here. To me, from a distance at this point, they all look fairly similar. So what I do is I highlight them, and then I use this little section, and I start looking and seeing which one is my favourite or which ones could go further. And you can see in here I've got a couple of 3 stars that I've pushed through eventually, and the rest are all 1 stars. I probably won't even look at them again unless I feel that I'm missing something. So I normally do this like on a 2 star and then a 3 star and then a 4 star, and I keep running through. So for example, here we've got a section just down here. Again, another selection, and you can see that I've given some still have got 1 stars. And what I'll do is if I've got this block here, I'll go through and I'll say, okay, anything with 1 stars I don't want. So I'll just get rid of all the 1-star ones here because they won't have been, for some reason, they won't have caught my eye as much as some other ones. And so there you go. So then we'll end up with some 2 stars and some 3 stars. And what I will have done is now gone through and looked at all these ones and said, well, actually, I'm going to end up with maybe 20 to edit anyway from my 3 hours. You know, getting 20 down to 20 is quite hard going. But you really don't want to be editing too many more than 20 from one setup. So I'm being quite harsh. So of these 4, I gave yeah, I think I gave this bottom one here a 3 star. So that's the one I will go and edit. And again, these other ones probably won't see the light of day again unless I really need them for something. So just to show you here, before we go and have a look at the first image, if we go attribute, we'll have a look at anything over 4 stars here. These were my favourite ones eventually, so I'll come down to 52 and you will see that I've duplicated everything because I ended up going in black and white. So there's actually only about 25 images there, and they were my favourites that I actually edited through. So we're going to go and look at some specific images now. Right, hopefully you can hear me above the sound of the waves. I've just come down to this first sort of breakwater thing, and the tide is coming in, luckily. So now it's a bit more interesting because when I arrived here about 10 minutes ago, there was no water around the bottom of the sticks. So it's quite nice. I noticed through doing some photos the reflection that's coming on the beach when the water's going out, which is quite cool. I quite like that, so I'm trying to get that in my images, and I'm trying to get some of the different heights of all the different sticks and the water. So we shall see what I manage to get. So we're going to have a quick look to start with at the first set of images that I had a play with. And actually we're going to concentrate on this one image here. Now these were the location at the beginning. I took lots and lots, but these were the ones that I ended up coming down to. And this one has actually been, I think this one actually may have already been edited. Let's have a look. Possibly. I'll show you this was the one I played with anyway. So of the 3 here, I decided this one was my favourite. I felt there wasn't quite enough going on this one. This one, it was a lot softer. I like the ICM movement. This one was just a little bit too yeah, just wasn't enough movement. This one I felt was too much movement. You ended up with these really long, almost doubled the height of the sticks, which I wasn't too impressed about. So I was left with this one. So if we go into develop with this one, I'll just take you back and I will just create a virtual copy so you can see what this one looked like when it came out of the camera. There you go. So it was actually quite bright. It was actually quite nice, but it was not cropped in the same way that I've ended up cropping. So I felt there was a bit too much space here. So from this, so essentially this is really almost just a, is that one? Yeah, it is the same image. Yeah, I felt that a crop in, so I now brought this up, made sure I kept the top of this in here. And really, I did very little to this one, to be honest. I quite liked how light it was. What have we got here? We've got, yeah, I've played a little bit just to accentuate the highlights, bring down the whites in the image. I've pushed the shadows up a little bit here. Increase the whites and reduce the blacks a little. I find pushing blacks, it's very dependent on the feel that you want, and I wanted to keep enough of this white coming through, so I didn't want the blacks to be too black in this image, so I quite like the soft browns here. You can just about see the reflections here. I put a little bit of vibrance and a tiny little bit of saturation just to bring some of the greens and things through. And yeah, that's probably, looking at my screen here, that's probably pretty much all I did on this image here. And I was quite happy with this, how it was. One thing I did do is I had a play with some black and whites, and I will show you those in a minute, but it was just to show you that this was the first edit that I did from the location that we were just looking at. So I've just come to the other side, walked over just to see what else there is, and we're getting a bit more of a reflection coming in this one, on this side, so I'm going to have a little play here with the reflections, and the tide is now coming in quite fast, so we shall see. So moving on to the other side of the breakers now, as I mentioned, I've noticed the reflection, and what you've got here are my three images. And the first one, top left here, is my straight out of camera image. This one is my image edited for the colour version, and this one is my black and white edit. So I would like to just talk you through these. Now, this one again, I loved the ICM. I had lots and lots of pictures taken in the same location, but I quite like the ICM movement. I quite like the softness of the water, but you could see it coming across the breakwaters. And as I mentioned, I'd seen these reflections, and I managed to capture this reflection in here, and then all the reflections throughout. There wasn't too much of the posts coming up above. So I went from this one to the next one, which was yeah, again, very little done. So what I'm just going to show you here. So this one, oh, that's not the wrong. This one here. So for a start, the horizon is, I can see the horizon going off. It's very slight, but I have to correct that. And also all the poles are slightly to the wonk to the right. So that's the first thing I'm going to correct. And then I'm just going to push the colours and the darkness and the blackness and things like that. So I have just rotated it very slightly. So to get it straight, and I'm happy. It's not, it could maybe go a very small amount more left if I tried, if I was being really picky. Let's have a look. If we wanted to rotate it just a tiny bit more, the problem is you can't see where the can't actually see where the horizon is when you're doing that. There you go, that's probably slightly better, although then these are going downwards, but then they actually were going downwards, so that's one thing I would do. What else have I done to this as well? I have dropped the highlights, so from 31 down to 31, and you can see it just brings back a little bit of the sky here. Contrast, pushed it from 0 to 20. Again, just subtle things that just all add up a little bit. Shadows again, I've just increased the shadows a little bit to make sure I've got some detail in the wood there. Whites again, just make sure the whites are clear, and the blacks. I just tend to, it's very subtle differences, but they all just add up to making a slightly improved image. I increase the clarity very slightly, and I increase the vibrance and the saturation. With the vibrance, it takes you back to that quite flat, quite almost monotone. So I did push this up to 40, I think, to just get a little bit of colour coming through, at least in the sand, and the blues are singing a little bit. And that's pretty much all I've done for that one. Now, I quite like that, but as I mentioned before, I did end up putting everything through into black and white because in the end I decided I quite liked the monotone effect. And you'll also see I've changed the crop a little bit. So this is where we've gone with the coloured edit, and this is where we've gone with the black and white. So you can actually see I've had quite a major crop on this one. So if we put these both together in the library module next to each other, you can see them better here. There we go. So you can see what I've done here. I've cropped, I've got a 16:9 crop, which I actually love. I really love the 16:9 crop. And there's an awful lot of sky. And it was quite, although there's detail in it, it wasn't that interesting. I loved the line coming down here, but equally it ran a little bit through the bottom here. So what I've done is I've cropped back to where the line of the water actually started heading out of the frame. And in doing a 16:9, I've then made sure I've just got enough space here, and I've got the reflection down here. And then I've just literally cropped, yeah, I've cropped back a little bit, just literally on this one here. So you can see, yeah, you can see how I've just had a little bit of a play with this one, and just gained what I wanted with the black and white. And I really love the black and white. I find that the black and white, this one is a lot more space. The colour's nice, and it gives a sort of fresh, bright feeling. But actually, that wasn't really the feeling I was feeling on the day. The feeling I was feeling was kind of an empty beach, a quietness, but movement of the water. And yeah, actually, that's not the same image, I guess. I'm not sure what's going on here. Let's have a look. There we go. That's not showing you. There we go, that's better. If we fit it to screen, the same with both of them, sorry. There we go, now they're both the same image. There we go. So yeah, the The 16 by 9, I ended up quite liking the 16 by 9, and like I said, the line of the water moves through here. You've got a little bit of reflection just coming off the top, and then you've got all these lovely reflections coming through where the water had drifted out, and then you've got the softness of the waves coming through. So if I was to tidy up even more, I might tidy up some of the detail here if I really wanted to make it perfect. I haven't gone and done that yet. But if I was looking to make it as perfect as possible, sometimes it's nice to leave this kind of detail in. Sometimes it's better to get rid of it. So yeah, that was that picture from that side. So that goes with that video. So now we'll go and have a look at somewhere else. It's interesting, if you stand somewhere long enough, you start to see new things. And I suddenly started seeing the reflections, and as the water went back, you've got all kinds of different levels of sort of strength of the reflection. And as the reflection went back, as the water went back into the sea, you're getting these kind of dragging lines across the reflection, which is really lovely. So I just sort of concentrated on that, and I also love capturing how the water comes up over the reflections. And especially with the ICM, it kind of turns it into a misty around the reflections, so that's kind of cool. So it's very mesmerising just standing here watching something specific that you've just noticed. It's rather fun to do that. When you come to shoot something, you know, I came to shoot these water breakers with absolutely no idea of what I was going to do because I've never done it before. And it's just intriguing that you can end up shooting something completely different, which is not even the water breakers, but the reflection on the floor. So if you ever watch any of my videos and think, gosh, she makes it look far too easy, it can't possibly be that easy. I bet she just goes out and takes photos and it just happens. That's not true at all. Okay, I've got, what have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of 6 here. I've got more than 30 images here. And these are all the 1-stars. I've already dumped out the others. So you can imagine I've got about 60, maybe 100 images just from this location that I've taken, trying to capture what I really wanted to, what I had in my mind to capture. What you will see at the bottom of the screen is that I've also captured some non-ICM images, and I quite often do this because I quite like doing multiple exposures later on. It's quite fun to do it with an ICM and a non-ICM, but that I will show you in another video sometime. So what I did, as I said, I stood there and I was noticing these reflections, and I'd got a lot of other images that already had the water breakers in. And so really I just wanted to concentrate on the reflections. So I'm going to take you from this lot and just take you from here and show you the ones that we chose in the end. The ones I chose, not you. We're going to just go with these ones here. Okay, and the colourful ones are the ones that I ended up choosing that I wanted to run with. So I'm just going to bring those up and just have those as because I've starred them already, it's quite easy to find. Now, this is what I was talking about. I just loved how the water kind of came across the reflections. It was almost like pulling back a little net curtain over the reflections. Here it's sort of quite stark. I took a different angle, so it was like straight on and had a little bit more of these almost like teeth at the top. And here you've got a slightly different movement of the water. So I've already edited 2 of these. I decided to make it a set of black and white. So I'm just going to take you through editing. I've just duplicated this one. So we're just going to have a little, I'm just going to show you how I chose this one. So what I'm always doing is I'm trying to match the black and whites on the way through. And I quite often go to, as a standard, I go through to the options on the left hand side just as a good start point, and some of these worked and some of these didn't, and I think I may have used, I'm trying to decide now, I think I quite like the flat light one actually. Go back in here and see what the settings were for these. So if I'm not sure what I've used on another one, the best way to do it is to go into one and go into here we go. Develop settings here, and copy settings, and it's going to copy everything through here. I'm quite happy with that. And then I'm just going to drop it onto this one that I wasn't quite sure about here. I've just pushed through. So I think that's too blue. I think there's something not quite right with that. So I'm just going to paste the settings onto this one. There we go. So now, actually that's, I've just seen, I've got them all selected. Let's edit, undo that, paste settings. We only want one, that one here. So let's just go develop settings and paste the settings on that one. There you go. So now we've got black and white. So the N3 were these 3 black and white ones here. So you can see them all together nicely. If you double L click, you can just see. You can see that they're all very slightly different. But they all sort of sit together in a lovely sort of set. I think maybe I didn't take these both through black and white because I ended up thinking they were both a little bit samey in the end, actually. The only thing that's different is this very slight movement of the water here. And I think I decided that that one and that one were nicer together than including the 3 in the end. So I think that is why I didn't actually put it through. So it's interesting when you go back and look at images and start questioning yourself. So anyway, that is those ones. And so I think I've got another video for you, maybe a couple of little more videos before I finish. So we'll go back and have a look a bit more sea. So I've been on the beach about an hour and a half now. Tide's coming nicely. And so I've moved on to something different now, which is capturing this little section here just at the moment. I'm waiting till there's some waves coming through like now. And then capture some sort of softness and capture them breaking like that. Sometimes you get one come over the edge like now. So it's all just about trying to figure out what looks good when you have to look at on the back of the camera where the waves look good at. So just playing with that. So we're coming towards the end of some of my examples for you. So I just thought I'd show you these ones in relation to the last video that you saw. And this was me now concentrating not only on the breaker formations, but what was happening at the bottom of the breakers. So initially my idea had been, well, you know, the breakers are the most important thing. And then the longer I spent there, the more I saw, the more I heard, the more I felt, the more I got a feeling for the movement that was going on that I really wanted to capture. And you can see some of these are kind of the 2-star or mores. So if we take it back to the 3 stars or mores, which were the ones that I ended up editing, you can see these are a stronger set of images straight away. A couple of them have already been edited into black and white, and those were the ones I chosen. I really love this one, just for the feeling of the power of the waves. It was fantastic. Shame I'd missed the top of this post off, but I love this powerful wave coming through here, and you can see kind of what the breakers are there for now. Love this one just because it was all about the textures and the colours, and I love the painter Turner, and it's kind of almost, if you didn't have these posts here, you almost get a feeling of that, you know, very abstract but with so much movement and so much feeling in the image. So these were the ones that I ended up editing into black and white. Let's go to 3 stars or above. So I had it was choosing ones that didn't replicate each other too much in the end when I wanted to share them. I think I just chose these 2 here in the end that I wanted to put forward as my study of the end of the beach, at the end of the pier, the water, and I really love the power that these 2 kind of brought through. If we want to just go and have a look at this one, which doesn't appear that I've edited it, we can just go through. If we just start, I haven't done too much post-processing on here. So this is the original, and I've reset it so I can't go back to where it was a second ago. This is the original. So immediately I'm not liking this bit here. So what I'm going to do is go down to the bottom, and the first thing I'm going to do is correct my crop and how I want. I also don't think that some of these are straight, and I'd like these ones to be straight. So let's just bring that across here. And as I said, I wasn't too keen on the white, so I'm just going to double click to get my crop here. So I'm going to get rid of the white there. There we go. Now, I remember when I was doing this, I was tussling whether I should leave the white on here now. I got rid of the white on there. And then I was like, well, shall I put a bit of white back on the other side to balance it up? And that kind of balances it. But I feel as though I'm falling out the edge of the image both sides. So I'm going to actually bring it in to both sides there to hold a real close feeling. And I'm just going to push it up so that the waves here, that feels as though it's a little bit bottom heavy. This one feels a little bit more balanced. So I quite like that. So as a crop, that's the one I would work on now. So then what I want to do is I want to make sure that I get plenty of detail in the whites down here. So I'm just going to pull back the highlights to start with and just see what's there. So there is loads of detail there. If we're not sort of broken the highlights, you can see there's plenty of detail up here. Let's just have a look. Let's play with the blacks. I'm a big fan of playing with the blacks and the whites first. I quite like that. Maybe just put a little bit of detail back into the wood there. Possibly I might play with the texture, but I tend to find that texture adds too much for my liking. Maybe a little bit of clarity, tiny bit. Dehaze immediately darkens your image. I don't use this very much on something like this. So I quite like this. You could just create a virtual copy and see what happens with a 16:9 crop. Just see what we get here, whether it feels any better. Again, do we want the top? We could bring it there. I don't know. It's a big decision, isn't it? Let's have a look. Let's just compare those two. So let's have a see what you think. That's that one and that one. Let's go and have a look. Sometimes I don't make up my mind straight away. Yeah, they're just different images. I think I actually prefer the 16:9 because it's now all about this bit of wave here, whereas I'm kind of getting lost a little bit down here on the bottom left. It's kind of well balanced, but I do feel my eyes being dragged down to this area of not really anythingness, and this down there. But your eye will always travel to the point of contrast, and here the line of contrast is this really white area, and it's against some beautiful posts here. So I find that this is actually more pleasing. So I'd probably go with this one. So if we want to replicate it one more time, and I'm just going to go back and find this one was the original one that we had to play with. So I'm just going to pick up the develop settings, and I'm going to make sure I copy the settings. So this time I'm going to make sure I don't copy the crop through because I've already got my crop that I like. So this one, that one, and we're going to just develop settings and paste the settings on top. Oh, I obviously didn't copy. I obviously copied the correct the angle. So you just have to be careful if you're copying things through like that. What you're actually copying. So let's just correct the, there we go. Perfect. Super. And there you go. That's the finished one of those. So if I was to put that one with those other ones now, let's have a look back here. We have a really nice set here. This one, looking for them now. Yeah. So we'd have it. I think I must have done something here. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with that one while I figure it out. I think maybe I've taken off a stars or something. I've made those disappear anyway. But that was the this was your original. Let's just check this was your original, and this is my final 16:9 black and white crop. So you can do quite a lot with an image through post-processing with the ICM. Even if you think it's quite a nice image to start with, there's always quite a lot you can do with it. It's just a case of looking and figuring out what you actually want to pull out of it. Now, just to finish very quickly, I just thought I'd show you that I didn't just take the breakers. Sometimes if I'm there, and I know I'm not going to come back to this location again, I'm sort of there to just capture anything else that captures my eye. And so I captured everything that I thought referred to my experience of being on the beach. And I've not done a lot of ICM with people, but I thought I quite like these actually, what I managed to capture. Just some people on the beach, and it was very easy to capture sort of individuals because yeah, there was hardly anybody there at all. So you kind of captured all these lovely little, I quite like this little group of people, and I like the fact that there's somebody separate from them. And I quite like these with somebody walking in the opposite direction, and with the black and white kind of ends up with stick men. So as well as the people, I ended up also thinking, oh, I like really like the waves and looking at the waves for coming in. So what shall I capture? And this one was, you know, I'd love these lines sort of trailing back after the water receding. Same with this, it was the combination of the water moving in different directions that I was trying to capture. Same here. Quite like the colours and the black and whites. These were a bit more waves. As I said, there were waves. These were about a foot high at the most, so there really wasn't a lot of wave crashing to capture. And then I did a little bit on the sand, non-ICM images, a little bit of ICM of the moss or the seaweed that was on the rocks. Again, it probably won't be used, but I captured it. And a couple of waves as well. And I actually use this wave in a multiple exposure image later. So anyway, I am just going to take you over to my website now, just so you can see where all of that went. And this is my Charlotte Bellamy creative photography website, charlottebellamy.com, if you want to go and have a look. And within the creative portfolio up here, I have a section of my work, and this is my beach breakers work. And these were the images that I chose in the end to share onto my website. And if you go through, you can click on them and move through them, and you'll see this is my multiple exposure that I was talking about, that I just used that wave in. And yeah, just putting them all together, they've all got the same sort of editing, same sort of feel, but I've just captured different sort of feelings, movements, textures, what was going on there during the day when I was there. This was that really nice one that I like with the posts here. And I put in this section because it was more than just the breakers for me. So I actually ended up in this group of images putting together some that weren't just the breakers, so the water on the floor, and then I actually put in a couple of the people ones because I really like those as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. And like I said at the beginning, do subscribe, do like, to pass on the information. I do run workshops on a regular basis, and you'll find those here up in the mentoring. If you click on the mentoring, group mentoring courses, I also do individual mentoring as well. But if you click on the group mentoring courses, you will see when new dates come up for ICM, intentional camera movement, multiple exposures with the ICM, and creating a cohesive body of work. All the classes are kept to a maximum of 6 people. They run 3 weeks in a row on evenings, normally a Tuesday evening or a Thursday evening, and they run for about 2 hours. The first course, first session is a presentation by myself, and we do, you know, I discuss the whole idea and put forward all the ideas and the whys and hows. And then the next 2 weeks, you submit homework to me, and we do one-to-one critique. And it's great because you get to see everybody else's work as well as getting new critique on your own images. So if you are interested in any of those, do drop me a message. My email is charlotte@charlottebellamy.com, or you'll find me on Facebook, Charlotte Bellamy Photography. Instagram, I'm Charlotte Bellamy Holland. I look forward to seeing you in the future. Okay, keep in touch, and there will be more videos on the way.